Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to The Wrap, a show wrapping up all things Zwift from the last week. We're talking racing, we're talking events, we're talking tech and fashion on Zwift. This is episode number 29. It is Thursday, February 2nd. I'm Nathan Guerra, and Anna Russell is next to me. I'm in a cold place in the northern hemisphere called Wisconsin. She is most likely in a warm place of New Zealand in the southern hemisphere of the world. And today on The Wrap, we are going to be talking about what we've been up to for the last week, as we usually do. The Zwift Racing League, in front of my here, was a sufferfest. I haven't been racing it as of late this round, but we've got quite the battle actually happening right within this podcast, to be honest. We also have an update that recently dropped. It is update 1.33, so we will be talking about that and what's been happening with that update, both awesomeness and also maybe a little bit of, what was that all about? World Championship favorites is going to be on the docket here as well as the new map that is the Scotland map that's specifically been built for the World Championships. And now there's a pack draft dynamics within Zwift 4.5 that is being tested. It's been being tested for a while. Have they worked out all the kinks? Of course, our guest, if you haven't known this already, is the team manager from Team 2024, Virginia Blue Ridge 2024, Nicola Cramner, who has been involved in the esports movement with Zwift and cycling, as well as one of the top level at UCI Worlds Tour teams for a while, and big name within the domestic scene in the USA. So going to be absolutely awesome to have her on. And of course, our fashion and garage picks for the week. Anna, a lot to unpack on my socials. I said it is jam-packed this week when it comes to content for the wrap.
And you even have a little picture of jam on there as well, which was very cute, I saw. So, yeah, I've got to say, it's extremely hot here. It's like so humid. I'm going to be sweating this whole show. But yeah, it's great here. We've had an okay week of racing. That race was hard. I know it's going to be hard, but I actually found it. Last season, we had that Sprinters Playground. Yeah, and that was sort of like 12 sprints. But this one, for some reason, I don't know if it was just the cadence of when the sprints arrived, it was pretty brutal. And it's sort of that one, I don't know how everyone else finds it, but I find you don't really know how you're going to go until you hit that first sprint and you get up out of the saddle and you go for it. And at that point, you're like, this is a great day or this is not a good day. But there's no in between. You're sort of like, you're having a great one or this ain't going to work. And I think it was very devastating when Christina after sprint 2 was like, I've dropped. I was like, oh no.
Ooh, I must have missed that one. I missed that. Oh, that's rough. So that's a big loss on FTS points for your team as well.
Yeah, so she'd had a pretty stressful day at work, I think, and was just so tired. And you just with that course, you just can't have any fatigue sitting there. So Jen Reel stepped up. She had a great race. But yeah, I've got to say that course was quite the sufferfest. And also, I actually saw it in the commentary afterwards, which I didn't know. And even Dave mentioned, Anna Russell will definitely know this. I was like, oh, I did not know that. But that's why it looked so weird at the end. I was like off. I'd chased down Kristen Kulczynski and had blown up. And I dropped a ghost right at the end just to kind of, do it for fun. And it didn't work. I was like, oh, that's strange. I wonder what happened. Did not know you couldn't drop it in the last 200.
What do you think about that feature?
I don't really get why. I don't know.
You should be able to see people crossing the finish line. Maybe would it be weird if you can't see?
Oh yes.
That would be weird. Wait, I lost, but there wasn't anyone there. I could see maybe
okay.
Because I was kind of like, well, why? Yeah, why? And I had to sit there and think about it for a minute, but then I was like, oh, the experience of crossing the finish line and totally thinking you won, and then wait, there was literally a ghost that crossed the line in front of me and I lost. That would be and then for esports side of things too, broadcast, there's an invisible person crossing the line. I mean, on the broadcast tools we see them, but if for some reason somebody was broadcasting or something, it just wouldn't look right. It wouldn't look good. So We've already had enough.
Absolutely.
We already had enough like finish line controversy, right? So
I know. I do want to see what chat thinks of this. I'm seeing everyone coming in. A lot of people had a lot of fun. People got their butt handed to them. I felt like that, Andrew, actually. But with the power-ups, I was kind of thinking about during the race, I got like a lot of ghosts, and the other power-ups were the aero and the draft. Now, if you had the aero, like, huge advantage. Like, you could just, in the sprints, because the sprints were so short, basically you could just aero power up the entire sprint. So it was a very, very useful power-up. And it's kind of comes back to, like, I don't know, a question for me there is that I never know, like, sometimes I really love the power-ups, and sometimes I'm a little bit like, I think that added a dynamic to the game that was a little bit unfortunate. Like the ghost, a 10-second disappearance on what was predominantly like downhill sprints. So the speed was so high anyway. What do you think? I mean, is it too much of a discrepancy there? One gives like a huge advantage. And basically, whenever I got the ghost, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to sit in for the sprint, because to get away in 10 seconds beforehand, is nigh on impossible. I don't know. What do you guys think?
yeah, that's a good question. And I do think that when it comes to specific courses, you really got to pick the power-ups as best as you possibly can, right? Like, I don't have a problem with the arrow in certain courses at all. On that course, actually, after watching it through and looking at how those sprints played out, I think you're right. I think that there's a little bit of a, ooh, how useful is this really comparatively? The only thing I would say, though, is that I would almost say that on Sprinter's Playground, that the arrow was like super, super powerful and there was an opportunity to get away. I feel like there were a lot of opportunities in EMEA that got capitalized on, that people were able to use other power-ups. Like, okay, fine, you didn't get an arrow. I'm not saying 100% yes or no here. I am leaning toward a yes to what you're saying about the arrow. But at the same time, I did see other power-ups being used at the timings that they could be used, throughout the race. Now, because there were breakaways that stuck and got FAL points. Now, there's weighted on points issues and FTS, and then, should they be random then? Should they just be like, at this banner you get this, at this banner you get this, and at this banner you get this, and then you can make a choice. I think that would kind of be the better solution, because I do agree, but we could solution it out a little bit better.
Yeah, I'd say, like, if I look at it afterwards, I'd say I would have found that race probably a bit more enjoyable if it was just 50% draft or 50% aero. And those were the two power-ups up against each other, because the ghost kind of, and I can see people in chat kind of agreeing, like the pack speed, I think because that castle sprint reversed twice, it was a downhill sprint, and the pack, like the pack speed there's no way you can kind of get away from there. And then I think in difference to Sprinter's Playground, where you have, I think there's one segment where you got about 5 kilometers between two sprints where you can actually recover and contemplate a decent breakaway. Is in this one, I think the max recovery was 2 kilometers. And so there just wasn't that kind of ability to use it in kind of a team breakaway as much as I saw in Sprinter's Playground. But that could just be me because I was suffering the entire time. But I definitely was kind of shaking my fist at that arrow during that race when I think I got one and the rest was some ghosts.
Yeah, I did see that. I did, and it was like almost an intuitive thing I saw. I didn't like identify it while I was commentating, but I was kind of like, ooh, I knew exactly who was going to win the sprint if I saw this. You know what I mean? And if you know exactly who's going to win the sprint, if you saw this, see this happening, and it's kind of a randomized thing that's given to you, yeah, I would agree with you that that seems a little bit off, just a tad. But outside of that, though, on that critique, I felt like this was one of the best race courses, though. Like I really felt like this was a good race course with how much action we saw throughout the entirety of the course.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fun for tactics. Like we had a definite point for Maddie, our rider, who's got amazing 5-minute power to go. I was like, you either go lap 2 at 19 kilometers or you go when Kristen Kulczynski goes on lap 2, whichever comes first. And I thought I read this quite well. Kristen Kulczynski went at like 18.7. So she had the same exact point in mind. And so Maddie like bridged up and got up to her, and it was like awesome to see. Although I was screaming at Maddie being like, don't just tow her around, get on her wheel, don't sit in front of her. But it was fun for that regard, that breakaways could kind of get reeled back in and you could get away at points. And I saw M. Nyquist, and I'm going to pull you up on it now, Nathan.
Okay.
I messaged you yesterday. I said, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Yep.
And I do.
Let's go. Here we go.
M. Nyquist from Abs.
Do we have an image? Do we have an image of this even? I don't think we do.
No, I'll try and find it. But she broke away, which was great. It was awesome. And you guys had the camera on her, and she had the alpine hat with the feather and her team kit on, and the rest of it. You said that her fashion put me to shame.
Did I say that? Did I say that? Did I say it put you to shame? I don't think I said those exact words. Now, I have a co-commentator who might have said those exact words. I'm not sure I said those exact words. Now, I said something along the lines of like, whoa, amazing fashion. Look at this. This is awesome. And I may have even mentioned the words Anna Russel, but I don't know if I said the words put her to shame. Now, my buddy might have come in and been like, bam, and hit you with that one. But I mean, that's his fashion call, you know?
Oh my God. I was just watching going, what? Like, I love that fashion choice. She picks it so that her parents can like see who she is in game. And I love an out loud fashion choice, but man, I was like, she's not in the, what did we call it? The Vanilla Ice kit. I mean, if she was in the Vanilla Ice kit with the white glitchy Tron, I'd be like, okay. She's like totally nailed. But man, and M, she is going to dine out this for so long. She sent me clips. So anyway, man, I was roasted after that one. I might have to put change the headband up or something, get something different going on.
Now you got me on fashion already. We'll leave this for later. I want to talk about visors later on in the show. I want to know a little bit more about the visor situation, because Gabriella had this visor on the other day and I was like, what is that? And now all of a sudden, anyways, we'll leave that for later. Stick around, everybody. We're going to have a big old fight about visors and cycling. Okay, next up, update. So the first thing we have on the update here is let's get the kind of sticky stuff, like what the heck happened stuff out of the way, okay, up front. And then let's talk about the exciting stuff. What's going on with ANT Plus right now? Do you know about people are having trouble with their trainers, it seems like, in erg mode. And Zwift responded and said this is high priority and they're not working on like anything else with the update except for that. Did you have any experience with this at all?
No, so I was on a Tour de Zwift ride and I knew it was on whatever route goes up, Epic, and so a lot of climbing. And in the pens before we were starting, there was heaps of chat about it, like, oh, is my erg going to work? I was like, what's going on? And then I saw that there was this bug. Mine was fine, but I could see why this would be a huge issue. Like the whole beauty of Zwift is that you feel the terrain, right? And so, I can see why they prioritized it pretty high. But I think everyone in the ride I was with didn't end up having any problems. So I assume it's all been fixed now.
Yeah, I think it's been calmed down at this point. I'm pretty sure that any complaints at this point were issues that may have already been in existence or other issues when it comes to ERG. I've had some issues recently with like connecting to the game in my ergs once in a while, but I don't think it's related to that. I have heard some rumors that maybe there's been some code messing around with trying to get like a better ANT Plus protocol or something along those lines, but like that's just rumors. I don't know. So I have no information about that whatsoever, just so everybody knows. But I'd love to know, like, what do people have going on with their situation? Has it been solved for them? And I know that Zwift made it a super high priority. I think my drops were still stuck as of a couple days ago. Now, I did get my kid came home with 102 fever on Monday after I just got done with 26 hours over 8 days. Yeah, that is going to be sickness in a heartbeat. Like, there's no way you're going to, like, get away from that, right? So I've been off the bike for a couple of days. So I'm feeling great now and good to go, I think, again. But the drops counter also got stuck, it looked like.
Yeah, someone's just saying the drops are back working today,
Awesome.
so that's good.
Did they get their drops back? I want to know if they got all the ones that they built up over the time. My drops got stuck on the biggest base week so far, and I'm like, I better get those drops back, man. Like, where's my currency?
You don't spend them on anything. You don't spend them. Doesn't matter. This is the punishment for you
for not spending
hoarding
them?
all your drops and not spending them. So I have no sympathy. This is for anyone who has like over 5 million drops. Yeah, you need to go spend
5 million. Yeah. 5 million. Yeah. Isn't there bikes that cost 5 million? Maybe not quite that much. Oh my goodness.
No.
I'm waiting for the 50 million. I'm waiting for the 1%er, okay? I'm waiting for that, like, here's the Gucci, here's the bling, I've got the Lamborghini, God. Like, there it is. I dropped it all. Like, this is a totally useless fliver, like, bam, but it's the show-off purchase. There you go. I'm waiting.
Okay, you're waiting for that golden dragon. Is that it that you talked about? Your golden dragon that's going to fly in. Okay, but I do want to talk about. So I'm part of that PC Masters group on Facebook for Zwift, and there was actually a post from Dave Higgins on there who keeps abreast of all the updates and things going on. And one of the things that had come up really interested me. So the only thing I noticed after the update was I was riding in a group ride through Makuri and my frame rate dropped. And I was like, that's odd because my PC is awesome and I, have built it specifically for Zwift and this hasn't happened before on this new PC. And I was like, I wonder what's going on. So I went on to the Facebook page to see if there was anything, that other people had noticed. And there was. And I think, so Dave thinks it might be the fact that Zwift is now recording all of the pace, like the holographic replays. So the fact that there's so much live recording going on that it could start to impact some of the sort of feeds that people are getting, I guess, and frame rates. So I don't know enough about gaming and the ins and outs of, game design and all of that. But I was like, oh, that's a bit scary because if they're doing it across all routes now, which they are, and there's a ton of recording happening in the back end, you kind of hope it doesn't start to impact the front end graphics, right?
That's a really good call out there, actually. I wonder, I don't know if I wonder if they are doing anything. I'll see. We might be able to get information on that for next week to know whether or not that does have any kind of impact or if there's any other kind of recording going on. So, that's a really great insight, though, from Higgins about that. And I haven't had that experience as of yet, but I actually, in a lot of the games I play, I'll have like a little counter that tells me what kind of FPS I'm currently getting. I don't do that on Zwift because I just assume it's going to be fine and great. I do know that they're definitely trying to go the opposite direction where they're trying to make the game more accessible on more devices, and that depending on what device you're on, they're like downscaling. But that's really interesting that as they're going that direction, what features are being added that there would be some sort of a performance issue. So
yeah, Aaron Bleakley's actually come in and said, yep, the frame rates have dropped for everybody and his fancy system, and I know he has a fancy system, is noticeably different. So there we go. Maybe keep an eye on that through that PC Facebook page, see what's going on there. But I really hope my beautiful PC setup isn't impacted too much.
All right, so next up on the wrap here, well, what comes along with update 1.33? Let's get into the exciting stuff because those are the things that we were kind of whinging on about just a little bit. But, we got past those things in the update. There was some playing out there, but there's some really, really awesome stuff actually coming with this update. And the new Scotland map, I think, is the biggest whoa out of everything here.
Yeah, I think someone's just put in chat T-6 hours until it launches. I may or may not get on the bike later and just roll around. I'm excited. I was saying to you pre-show, Wukazi that came out, I don't know what happened. Maybe I was it was too close to school holidays and I kind of lost it but I didn't have this visceral feeling of excitement. Like I kind of got on and rode and it was like, oh, that's quite cool. I actually really like running around there because the sandy parts are quite nice. But Scotland, I went and had a look at like all the sort of previews of it. And it just, as a racer and someone who goes on Zwift primarily to really race, oh my gosh, it is just phenomenal. Like the crit course is cool. The part that I'm so excited about, and I wish Zwift had called it Sker in the City instead of City in the Sker, you know, just to give a little bit of a hark to Sex in the City. But that climb is rad. Like it's just a really gnarly climb that's got really cool graphics around it. I love the fact that they haven't emulated the World Champs course in game. Like they've said it's Scotland, but they've just made it this kind of cool gamified part, and it's a racer's world, right? And I even think I'd just kind of roll around. I watched GP Lama's video on it, and the thing he said that was really cool, and I totally agree, and I hadn't thought about it, is you're so close to everything. So you can ride and go take a left turn and you're in the city, and then you can go take a right turn and you're going up a mountain. Whereas, say, the map in France, where I think they tried to emulate, you know, the actual French countryside a bit more, is you can kind of be on this one road miles away from everywhere, and you're sort of just there and you're just riding for ages until you get back to like something. And I was like, this is, yeah, I don't know how you feel. I'm pumped.
That's funny you say that. There's definitely, okay, so France is like the quest that you're like, I really have to go all the way back to that place. I never want to visit. Sorry. like no, really, in certain MMOs, okay, in certain MMOs, massive multiplayer online games, you visit certain places, you get the work done there, and you kind of never go back. Like you're kind of like, and if you have to go back there, it's some like side quest they put you on because they just want you to visit there again for the developer's sake. It feels like actually, and not for the sake of enjoyment. Like, so and that section of France, I know exactly what you're talking about. You're just like waiting to get back to the city. And even at that point, you're like, there's only two ways to go. Ventop, what? And then go and turn on the squiggly road, or you know what I mean? It's like, So, and then there's the in-between where I think McCurry has a different purpose. And I like McCurry a lot. I like McCurry to visit when it comes to, I'm out here for an enjoyable ride in a countryside area to check out the scenery and get my miles in with a group that's social, etc. This is a race course, and we haven't had a race course release. Crit City, Richmond, you know what I mean? Like France, I think, was supposed to be, well, let's say Champs-Élysées, like those kinds of things, right? So, and we haven't had that in a while, and I think that this course is event only for that reason, because it isn't about going out and hanging out with your buddies in a social ride necessarily. This course was designed as a world championship course, like Richmond was designed for a world championship course. Like, and that's what you go there for. And I think we're going to find, I think it also hits a lot of the conversations I've had, memes I've had, like kind of the purpose of this map was to hit some places within a race course design that we don't necessarily have. Like we've got short punch on a crit course in Crit City. We've got a little bit longer succession of climbs in Richmond, but we don't have what this seems to offer with this kind of in between those two things, and with a lot of breakaway, but then close things down efforts able to happen. And I'm just really obviously really excited about it. More, you know, as we get out on it, there's going to be tons more to say. And people are going to be able to ride really soon. You were saying it's launching in, did you say 6 hours?
Yeah, I think 8 hours. I think tonight is the first, group rides available. I saw I could run on it tonight, so I assume you can ride on it tonight as part of stage 8 of the Tour de Zwift. So I'm probably just going to roll around. As I say, it's a racing course, but I just want to roll around and check it out and have a look. So I may do that a bit later. I'll see if I've got the energy to get on the bike. But yeah, it's really cool and very exciting. You will unlock, if you do the Z Race series, a tartan kit.
What does that even mean?
Tartan. Do you not know what tartan is? You must know what tartan is. So be prepared.
No. Like, what? How am I supposed to know what that is? Okay. Why is this? Are you serious? Like, in the USA, no one. Do you ever see anyone here wearing a whatever that is?
A tartan? Oh, come on. There's like American movies where people are wearing tartan. Okay, anyway.
But they don't use that word in the, like in an American movie, do you actually, like, an actor was like, nice tartan, or like, you know what I mean? Like, like where they talked about the dressing up in a tartan? Like, help me out here, Anna. I'll just say it. I'm an uncultured American. Fine, whatever.
Okay,
Give it to me. What is this thing?
Pull up your one of your pictures of the Scotland route, and I'll show you the one where they're racing through the city. Okay, see that sign that has the Zwift on it with all the like.
I figured that's what you were talking about because it's on that shoulders of that rider right there. That's what you're talking about.
That's a tartan. That is the new tartan that will get released.
So we call that like there's a couple of different words that we have for that. Specifically, like if you what the heck? Now I can't even think of those words though. But anyways, we have other things that we call them, and you think of Scotland, and you think of Braveheart, and you think of like whatever, like these, like, yes, I get what you're talking about. We don't call it tartan for some reason. I don't know what. Yeah. Anyways, so
well, there we go. Maybe you call it plaid because it does look kind of plaid. So
well, we do say plaid, but there's another word like because they would use these kinds of, I think, stitchings like this to identify their clans, I'm pretty sure, like, and that's where that was coming from. And we have other names for what you would call those. Let me see here. Argyle. Okay, I'm getting Nicola's actually texting me saying Argyle, but there's another name that I use. Maybe it's just my family. You know what? I should feel horrible about this too, because like I have Scottish blood, like from like royalty from way back, just like somehow in my family. My grandma's like all proud of it, you know what I mean, and whatever. And like we even have like a signet, like a signet of it or something that sits at the house and whatever. Like, dang it, Nathan, I'm really behind right now on this.
Okay, well we'll use the word they use in Scotland, which is a tartan. So you will unlock your beautiful tartan kit, which I'm quite excited about. Expect that on the wrap next week as I rate that one, because it might get quite a high rating from me. It looks good, but we'll see what it looks like as I'm riding around on the avatar. But there we go, Nathan.
4 weeks, 4 stages, Rolling Highlands, February 6th through the 12th is going to be the Z Racing Series. Then we've got Glasgow Crit Circuit, February 13th to the 19th. You can do the Muckle Yin on February 20th through the 26th, and February 27th through the 5th, City and the Skur is going to be the 4th stage. So go ahead and race Scotland, and then obviously Tour de Zwift will put you, I believe, out on Rolling Highlands later tonight. So you guys,
and that's the WTRL course, I think, for Zwift Racing League.
Oh,
for the
wouldn't
last
be surprised.
One.
Would not be surprised.
Pretty sure.
Right, I think that just got announced as well. So great, absolutely awesome.
Yes.
All right. Next up on the wrap. Okay, real quickly, let's do our picks real quick with this course. What are we doing with this course? Should we do top 3 or just one pick? What are you thinking?
Do you know what? I'm so bad. I'm going to be able to pick the women, but I'm going to have to, how about you do your men's picks and I'll do the women's picks?
Oh my gosh.
I'd just be picking favorites in the men.
Gotcha. And I have done some deep dives a little bit. When it comes to a top 3, I shoot the bottom, the podium, the rest of the podium, kind of just like what's on the top of my head at the moment. And so rather than like really nitpicky deep dive, the Danish riders, Joachim Leeson and there's a hard one between, I think it's Foldiger, and there was another Danish guy that's really, really strong. But I'm going to go with those two. Foldiger, Leeson for top 3. And I keep on questioning this pick because I've said it twice already on other recordings that haven't gone out yet, I don't believe. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for it because he's really shown himself in the last couple of weeks, last month or so, Mark Modding. And, I mean, he showed up last year, and I watched him and was like, he's gonna get busted. Like, what is that? That no way. Like I literally was like, is this dude really this strong? And now he's racing Zwift Grand Prix. And the reason I'm saying this is because coming into World Championships, the amount of training he's done matched with the going at 8 to 9 watts per kilogram over the top of a climb in an elimination race already, and then looking at everybody and saying, I've got 14 and they can't even respond. That looks like exactly what you need to win Worlds. So I'm going with modding.
Okay. This is why I shouldn't have been doing any picks on the men's side, but on the women's side, and I put in the show notes sort of what is intriguing me after watching, say, some of the USA East women is you look at two riders, you look at, say, Kristen Kulczynski and Jackie Godby side by side, right? And you go, they're just so different in their riding, right? And it really got me thinking as to what type of rider is going to win across this new format. And I think it's so exciting, and I'm really interested to get Nicola's viewpoint on it as well, is I guess as more so than like who I'm going to pick, it's more what type. And I know Kristen Kulczynski has done a lot of work to get herself to be more of a sprinter, but say you look at Jackie Godby, she puts out 1,000 watts. Like if she's on flat terrain, like 1,000 watts beats any other watts. Like it just doesn't matter, right? And I'm just so intrigued as to how this is going to play out. You've got, Lou Bates, you've got Kristen Kulczynski, you've got Jackie Godby. Those are the names that come to mind. And that's only because I look at the final race, which is going to be more of that crit style course, right? And I don't see someone who can put out 1,000 watts, a female, in a sprint. If someone like that makes it to that final race, I just don't see how they're going to get beaten unless they make a muck up with a power up or something like that. But I don't know. So I guess if I'm looking at, I've almost got to put like Jackie Godby there because the form she is coming into and just seeing what she did in ZRL this week where she was sprinting over and over and over again. Is that more important because that's the last race than someone who can ride it looks like that climb, the Skur in the City, which I will call it, looks like it's about 4 to 5 minutes. Is that more important than a 5-minute power rider? Because that 5-minute power rider, yep, they'll do great in round 2 and they'll make it into the last round. But unless they're putting out those huge watts, you can't get a win. So I think that's the difference here from, say, last year where we did scratch races is it kind of, you've got to be that rider who can sprint. And I think that's what's going to win the day. I could be totally wrong, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I'd agree with, good friends with Kristen, and I think she's got some work cut out for her if she's going to be able to take on Godby as top American. I will give you that. I don't know. Yep. There's a lot of other talent in the world. I'll give you Godby on top American. My pick I'll give you my women's pick, but Lou Bates is what I threw out there in some other places, and I'll say it here first, publicly. But it's hard to go past Lois, but I don't know with her World Tour focus right now if she's going to be. That's the only reason.
That's the only reason I didn't say Lois is because I think she's just won a stage, right? Like she is in the midst of full outdoor riding, and I don't know how well that will cross to people who are just full indoor riding at the moment. So that's the only reason. She is amazing. And that's the only reason I'd be like, that's the focus shift. The other thing, which we haven't really talked about, and we're going to actually have Matt Gardner on the show just before World Champs as a DS from a point of view. Like if I'm sitting here DSing a team as big as USA and you've got, say, Jackie and Kristen, and if you care about USA winning, would you not use some riders in that second round to get high enough up and destroy themselves to stop other riders getting into the third round? Do you get what I mean? Like there's a tactical part here too. If you've got like a Courtney Nelson who's great at climbing, she probably isn't so good at sprinting. Would you not use her to bump out someone else to get into that last round? It's going to get really tactical. Exactly.
True. I agree there. And, the courses also, one last thing I'm going to say on all these picks, we have not seen these courses raced. I don't know what I watched Jackie streamed her Zada test. I was like, whoa. And I was really surprised she did it. I saw her do 400 to 425 watts for 7 minutes. Like, I was like, she's putting me to shame. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, what is going on? And so, because I was kind of questioning, like, okay, there's a 4 to 5 minute climb in here. Is Jackie going to survive? You know what I mean? I was wondering, like, because this is the top level in the world, and she might be on the bubble a little bit. I was wondering, like, will she be on that bubble? But after watching that, I was like, okay, it isn't a 20-minute climb. That's a different story. Like, she could probably eke through here, and then, like you said, in the final might have it. So, all right, anyways, we've gone on and on about this. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more chatter about Worlds over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And should we talk about, I'm going to be there. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
We'll talk about that next week. Hey, yeah, it's exciting. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our guest. Pack Dynamics 4.5. That's going to have to go to next week because we're going over time like we always do. We like to talk way too much Zwift. So let's jump right onto this. Well, our guest today, Nicola Cramner. She is the team manager of Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024. It's great to have her on the program. I've known Nicola for quite a long time, actually, through the world of Zwift and esports. We actually got introduced to each other in Belgium at an in real life event. And then from there, I remember Nicola after being, it was like you did this first event, and from there, it was like, I'm in. I remember you were like, this is amazing. I love this. Our women can get like a lot of highlight. This is a whole new place where women's cycling can grow in ways that is never before. I remember just this like light bulb went on in your eyes, and we talked like a ton after that event about that. And that's kind of like where you guys really started getting involved in the broadcast and Zwift Community Live in some ways as well. So, Nicole, welcome to the program, first of all, and loving having you here. Oh, I don't hear you, actually. Could you double check your audio real quick? You might have muted it. I know she was saying that I think her audio was in Spanish. Was it in Spanish?
Oh, no.
Let's see if we can get her back. Uh-oh. We might have to do a reload, Nicola. Maybe if you reload the page, and then we will be back with you. For some reason, it got unhooked, I think, the audio. Yeah, so she'll be back with us in just a second here, everybody. Apologies.
So the reason I wanted her on though.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think it got muted. It got muted for some reason. Sorry about that, Nicola.
That's okay. Thanks for having me. Hi, Anna. Hi, Nathan.
So the reason I wanted you on. Sorry, Nathan is saying Nicola, and I say Nicola. Can you just tell me which one it is?
Correct
so I get it
right? That's the only reason you wanted me on. It's Nicola.
There
Nicola,
it is,
okay.
Nicola.
Nathan, I'm like,
Dave says it all the
2-0.
time that way too, and I never pick. I don't think you've ever corrected me on that either. We've known each other this whole time, and just making. Oh man.
It's Nathan. It's actually really good to see you, Nathan. I think we've texted a little bit over the last few months, but one of my last calls to you, literally on the phone, was I burst out crying and I couldn't even get a word out. It was when we were going through some Zada drama, and I called poor Nathan, and he's like, hello, and I'm like, on the other end.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So Nicola, I think so I really wanted you on the show. Obviously Riot and Virginia Blue Ridge 2024 have been having this awesome battle in USA East, and it's been heaps of fun, and it's great to have your riders, coming into the community racing. That's been one of the best things about sort of detaching Grand Prix and the ZRL racing. And I was just interested to know more about the team and you, the sort of driving force behind the team. And we get all of our guests to sort of give us a bit of an origin story. But for you, I just sort of want to know, and Nathan talked about it a bit, but how did you make that sort of jump from, you have your in real life, very successful team going on. What motivated you to also sort of bring it into an esport realm?
Yeah, it was quite a few years ago now, and Charlie Isendorf reached out to us and basically said, hey, Nicola, do you want to do some Zwift racing? We noticed that some of your riders are on Zwift already. And I had no idea really what that meant. It was the Zwift KISS Super League series, and we were a UCI team at the time. So we were the first UCI team actually to sort of adopt the Zwift racing. So we went to Zwift headquarters and actually did a race live with our team from there. And the team had so much fun. And what I realized really quickly was that the community that we built within the team really expanded when we started racing on Zwift, because IRL racing, is fairly infrequent in the US, and they got to race a lot during the week together. And it was just a great platform for them to practice communication, tactics, and just get some good hard racing in. And then as we really stayed on the platform, we realized that this was actually a really good way to get some very specific training efforts in. Chloe Dygert was a part of our team back then, and she did a lot of key workouts on Zwift as she was building up to World Championships, which she actually, slayed it. And that was largely due to a lot of very specific workouts on Zwift.
So from there, then when you initially got into that and you made that transition, then, so you're doing the workouts and then, and you're getting this community engagement, it sounds like, but like, what was okay, we're going to like take esports seriously. Like those are two kind of different things. And like, how does that work with your team? You know what I mean? How did that transition happen? Because I remember there was a little bit of growing pains around that. It felt like how am I going to convince my girls to race full gas on Zwift and in real life? And then it's like, you almost created two teams, but they mesh with each other, it seems to me, at least from the outside looking in. But that probably took a little bit of like, oh, we got to grow up into this.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, what we realized really quickly was there's a whole world of Zwift specialists out there. And it was really hard for us I think we kind of got lucky in the beginning with some of the athletes that just worked really well on Zwift and started seeing success, like Shayna Powless back in the day, and a couple of other riders that just really loved it and they thrived in that environment. Others took a little longer to adapt. And then we realized, hey, there are women out there that only do this and they're really good. And then as the racing developed and, different power-ups developed, different courses, different types of racing, we really did have to specialize. And one of the athletes that we recruited during the weekly WTRL races a few years ago was Kristen Kulczynski. And she was new to the sport then as well, but she could go up a hill really well. And so, we invited her to the team, and, she's been very instrumental, along with our DS, Josh Lipka, Kristen's best friend, in identifying talent to race with us on Zwift. And we did separate the teams out initially. And then what happened was we actually, through Zwift racing and during COVID, we identified some really great talent through Zwift to add to our IRL team. And so, one of those for this year is Laurel Quinones, and she's going to be phenomenal. I mean, she is a rider to watch. She's pretty incredible, and she came to us through Zwift.
Yeah, that's obviously great pick up there with Kristen Kulczynski early on. She's
I remember that. I remember real quick. I do remember. I actually still have the graphic comes up once in a while in one of my folders. That WTL race in the jungle loop that she had that amazing race at, and you were like, who is that? And I was like, I don't know, actually. We call her KK, and she came out of nowhere, and she had no team, no nothing or anything, and it's been quite an awesome origin story as well for her alongside of 2024. And I would assume, I think that's really cool. There's one thing, we talked about WLC, there's a little bit of a bunny trail here, but Wahoo LaColle is another team who does a really, really good job of having that, and Riot, of course, and there's a few teams out there that do a really good job of having this longevity of support around their athletes in this space, and it isn't a flash in the pan of like, because you've seen these flash in the pans, jump on the Zwift hype, oh, okay, but it's not necessarily like, hey, we actually take this super seriously as a lifestyle discipline of cycling.
Yeah, it's very integrated into our program.
Yeah, that's kind of the question I had there was, how do you integrate it into what is also in real life. And I mean, some athletes will cross over between the two and some will just stick to one or the other. And if you look at your sort of strategic direction for Virginia Blue Ridge 2024, going ahead, how important is esport? Like, what are you wanting to do in that space?
Just to really continue to grow our program in that area. I think that, like I said, we've identified a couple of really talented women through Zwift. I think our sponsors love it. For example, just last week, we were actually on Broad Street in Richmond, which was the site of the World Championship course. And one of our new sponsors, Ground Force IT, wanted to have us do our Thursday ride live in their office. So it was really cool to be there in person. Amanda came and led the ride. And for their community in Richmond to see Zwift, being executed live, but also seeing the global audience that was participating in the ride. And we were able to share their brand messaging to a global audience. And so they thought that was the coolest thing. So, for us, it's not just about the racing, it's about integrating our partners and giving them another offering and a bigger market.
I absolutely love that, and the way that, creating a village, you're creating a village, not just community that goes beyond that. But so then, okay, that comes into growth over the last few years. What's been happening with it? Like, from where you started in Belgium, you know what I mean? And the KISS and the online KISS series that you were talking about, to the growing pains to now, like, what do you think about how things have grown, the changes that have happened? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I feel like we're in a really good place. And we went from community racing to just pro racing with a couple of invited community teams, to very community-driven racing as well. And so I like to encompass all of it. I did like when we were specifically racing other UCI teams, because I think we got a head start on how to race on Zwift. That was really fun. We saw a lot of success. But I do love the community of Zwift. So it's fun to race with, regular women that aren't necessarily super athletes that do other things during the day. And you see talent emerging from that. And, that's really fun for us. And I know that, Zwift wasn't built for professional athletes. It was built for community. And so, I love that aspect of it, and we'll continue to support that. I mean, our Thursday community ride has been going on for 3 years now. So that's a big part of our week as well.
So
tell us about, Nathan, tell us about that community ride. What time and is it? And can anyone just join up?
Oh yeah, it's Thursdays, 9 a.m. Eastern, and it's usually about 2.0 watts per kilo. And it's, every week, every Thursday. And it's a conversational ride. Usually Eric Schlange joins us, and different people. We have celebrity guests, and our team, of course, is often there. So really fun.
It's a cool ride. I've been on it quite a few times, and definitely very chatty. It's all about chatty and inside jokes. There's a lot of inside jokes. There's a lot of inside chatter. I mean, it's its own podcast, actually, just within
and giveaways.
There's giveaways.
We're always giving aways.
They're doing these giveaways where, like, you have to be a certain place in the pack, and then, like, they take a screenshot, and then if you're in the right spot, you get the socks or something. Like, it's a lot of fun. But
we've been having so much fun though with the Tuesday night racing, and it's been really fun to see the hype around the rivalry. I'm not really sure how that started, but it was definitely episode 22 was pretty pivotal for us though. That's when Anna rolled her eyes when somebody mentioned our team. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant because we did a screenshot of it, and it became a meme, and it really put a match to the fire. So thank you for inspiring us.
I think that was my fault. Yeah. I don't know if I should take ownership of that, but I think because we weren't broadcasting East for a little while. And to be honest, like, I was like, we're missing something here, and I felt it, and I was like, something is definitely missing here, and and then like I was like, okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it all. We're gonna go all in. We're really gonna do it. We're not gonna go halfway.
Yeah.
And there was a reality that rivalry was something that we would talk about it every week. So it was just like we need to bring that back, and then, you know, out of that, there was like these other teams were like, hey, what about us? And I was like, yeah, what about you? Cool, let's go. Like, bring you in here too. So there's been a new discovery process out of America with that, Anna.
I think, I don't know what I was rolling my eyes about, but I'm quite a competitive person. So but actually, like, it was after, I know, right? But to be honest, like when round 1 was happening and like the broadcast wasn't on, Kristen would message and say, what's happened to the broadcast? So it would be great to like see, you know, how awesome this racing is. I was like, I know, like, and so I was kind of like getting a bit of like saying to Nathan, like, you should see like Riot 2024. We're just like at each other. It's awesome. Like, we're just like going for points. It's really good. And then I was like, if we can get this rivalry kind of going, then we'll get some eyes on it, and then more eyes on the women's racing, and just seeing how like epic it is. Like I'm sort of a mid-pack in that group now, and I'm watching the replay going, oh my God, Kristen, Jackie, like this is, you know, the top level races just going like tooth and nails. And I think it's, and I mean, for everyone out there, like Kristen and I message afterwards, and it's sort of like, there's not like a beef rivalry. It's just let's show like women can get out and be competitive and go for it and really want to win. It's not sort of like, oh, let's roll around, ladies, and have, you know, like, it's fun, but man, it's it's kind of that quote, right? Like a rising tide lifts all boats. And you look at everyone in that division now, like everyone's getting power number personal records. Like everyone's doing better. Everyone's like bringing their A game. So yeah, I think the rivalry element has been like an awesome sort of slant to that USA East.
I have a question.
I mean, we do bring everybody up. I mean, we love winning and we hate losing, but it really inspires us when we lose, because we have to figure out how to win next time. I mean, seriously, it's, you know, we're bringing our IRL riders in and quickly getting them up to speed. I mean, Kristen and Josh, they do such a good job at mentoring. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like Zwift school. It's full on. Like Emily Ehrlich, for example. I mean, she's really new to Zwift.
Race.
And that girl, I mean, she's a gamer. She plays World of Warcraft and Fantasy 14. And so she's kind of used to gaming, but now she's just putting her athletic skills, you know, combining it all, and she's catching on really fast.
I have a question quickly on that front. I mean, there's even within the podcast right now, I can feel there's like, okay, it's happening right now in front of us here. But so I said something during the broadcast. I'm not sure if it was EMEA or Americas, but I want to stand by this, and I'm going to continue to use this analogy. And you said it earlier about UCI teams and that you liked racing the UCI teams, and there's not many that have been playing in the community playground on a committed way, and that we've been in, but what we saw. So one of the examples that I'm using about this analogy is like we've been inviting the rest of the cycling world to this space, and I understand a little bit of the eye roll at times with some of the things that are like, you know, verification, this and that. But now that we're getting to this top level and we're getting to a place where like almost all of the athletes that they're racing in the ZRL are verified athletes, you know what I mean? Like you're at a point where you can engage in this community in a way that is at the same level as a world championship that's about to be awarded in the UCI, right? And are you kind of like, hey, come play, like, let's go? Because that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, look, we've gone from our sandbox out into the playground. And the way I said it on on Tuesday is kind of gave you a fat lip. Like we took the KOM jersey, we took the opener, with Vine, and now Los just won her first World Tour level. Like our Zwifters are going out and killing it. It looks like. in a lot of these spaces. Why don't we come on and play with us? Like, we want you here. Are you kind of feeling that same way, Nicola, is what I'm wondering?
Yeah, I am wondering why there was a bit of a drop off, and hoping that everybody will get excited about it and come back into the fray. I mean, it is really challenging, I have to say, to, when you're working with the IRL team, IRL athletes, and you're asking them to do both, and you're going through like winter-based training and periodization, and, they're on their down week and a Zwift race comes up, you're like, do I race my A squad, or do I, race the riders that aren't necessarily the best because that person needs a break because of the IRL training. So it is really challenging sometimes to coordinate that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. And we've made a few sacrifices in that area and had athletes race when probably we might not should have. It's sort of like, they should have been on a more of a rest week, but we're like, we have to beat Riot. You're going to have to race.
So as just to like, that's a great pushback even on what I just said, because there may be other motivations. And actually, Nathan should maybe look in the mirror, because am I racing right now? And I'm focused on my, on a pro mountain biking circuit maybe coming up. And so I'm thinking on a 26-hour week to throw one race in the middle of that. Sorry, the energy has to go somewhere else. And if I did throw a race in the middle of it, it would completely mess up a lot of what I'm up to, unless I'm going to totally reorganize my training for that. So I do see the point there. And so there's a like specialization that really needs to happen, you think, rather than, and maybe put more, well, when is it going to get a UCI then? Around like that stamp around a more full season? Is that kind of where you'd like to see things go?
I think some of the racing has to happen during the season. Maybe it's like one-day classics or something. But have like we did before, some racing during season and not just off season, which is sort of what's happening at the moment. There's very winter heavy, which is, it's really a struggle. But then we have the Zwift specialists, but we really do want to include our IRL athletes because I think it's a great combination, and they just get stronger from doing it. I mean, our IRL athletes, they learn how to suffer better. Especially racing in North America for women isn't always super aggressive. Zwift racing is always super aggressive. And so they really get to dig deep, and they really get to learn how to suffer. And a lot of athletes just need to learn how to suffer to be better athletes.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point. And I think, it kind of goes, I think your idea there, and I really hope that someone sort of hears it and runs with it, is those classics over the actual season, like the in real life season, would be a great sort of relationship to IRL and Zwift, and to keep it going. Because it does feel like when it hits the northern hemisphere summer, and I'm in obviously the totally different hemisphere, and we're in winter, it's sort of it just kind of dies off a little bit. Like you go in races and you're sort of like, okay, this would be good to have something, maybe even like once a month. And for the Southern Hemisphere athletes, I know the Australian athletes too, is you race Zwift all winter, and then suddenly you hit summer, and then you're racing Zwift again, and suddenly you're racing 12 months a year every week, and it's really intense. So I think that's a really good point there. I like that.
Yeah, and I think just building off of a IRL sort of fitness structure and fitness campaign really would be beneficial, because all of a sudden our athletes are nearing peak performance and then get on Zwift. I mean, just so you know, right now they're not, other than specialists, right? Like our IRL athletes are just building into this season, just starting to do above threshold workouts in real life for upcoming time trials, et cetera. They're not peak performing. So during the season.
Sorry to interrupt, but like, so is there another genre within the sport of cycling that you have an experience with? Like, I'm thinking track, or I'm thinking where there was a call from the governing body out there. From your experience, I'm trying to pick your brain on your experience of how this has played out and grown and what you've seen over time, where it was like there's this ask to where the mixture, because we do have a smaller pool of athletes right now at that elite level, right? But in my back of my head is like, does it become its own full-fledged UCI? Like its comparison in real life is the UCI or is the governed thing, and then we have this other thing. I feel like track sits kind of in between there, where it's where you have track specialists, but they go do other things, and where do they focus? And they don't know where to focus. You know what I mean? Like, and you know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? What I'm kind of saying right there? Like, when does it get big enough, and at what point do you say, look, you're just gonna have a whole genre of cycling, not just call it specialist? And do you see it ever even getting there, or do you want it to get there?
That's an interesting question. I think, first of all, the UCI season is a moving target. I mean, this year we've got the Nations Cups in February, March, and April. Previously, it might be at the end of the year, or, they kind of keep shifting it from winter to spring. That's one of the biggest challenges of how to balance, all of the disciplines, because we've got, mountain bike, gravel, track, and road. We don't really have cyclocross racers right now, just trying to balance that, and then adding Zwift into the fray as well. I know there's plans and heard whispers of, Zwift being an Olympic sport at some point. And I don't see why not. I mean, if breakdancing is, then why not Zwift racing? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It could be a winter sport. It could be at the Winter Olympics, for example. But, if it gets to that level, I mean, we already have a UCI World Championship. So if it gets to an Olympic level, then certainly it has to be its own genre. And really, you specialize in Zwift, but perhaps you do some track racing to supplement, or, one of the other disciplines. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's growing. It's moving in the right direction. I mean, Zwift as a company really is just everywhere. I mean, you can't turn on an IRL bike race without seeing Zwift on somebody's jersey. They are sort of branded through all of cycling these days, and doing a great job, and particularly in support of women, of course. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm excited. I mean, we're committed. I mean, Zwift is obviously a partner of ours now, but that wasn't so for quite some time. And actually, most people don't know this, but Eric Min and Zwift really saved our team when we lost a sponsor a few years ago. We had a last-minute pull-out of a title sponsor, and Eric knew about this, and he said, let us try and do something about it, and they saved our team, basically. So we're very loyal to the Zwift community and Zwift as a company, and in it for the long haul.
I'd have to say, Nicola, as well, like all the rivalry aside, I do want to say thanks as well, because I think having an in real life team taking Zwift seriously adds a huge amount of credibility to the platform as well, especially in the women's racing, right? So you talk to people out there, they'll know 2024 because it's a legit cycling UCI team, right? And then you say you're racing them on Zwift, and people can kind of get like, oh, this is serious. Whereas you say, you're racing Riot, they'll be like, who, what? There's just like this random, group of people that, I mean, I love them, but we just, we're not an IRL, team out there. So I think, a big thanks to you for actually, being an innovator in this space, coming on, but also putting it into a strategic direction and taking it seriously. And, it makes the women's racing, in my mind, it just gives legitimacy, which is what we need, and we need eyes on it. And so thank you for that. It's been a great development that you guys have put in.
Yeah, thank you. Kristen Armstrong, who's high performance director and one of my closest friends, has been a big part of this and very instrumental in identifying what Zwift can bring to an athlete as far as training. And she uses it a lot for her very high performance athletes. And, it's a great tool, other than just the marketing value and the fun that we have on it. So yeah, and I appreciate what you said. Thank you, Anna.
So looking forward, let's not look too far forward. I think we talked a lot about planning and the state of esports, the future of esports, but we've got next week going back to rivalry. ZCL put out a post last night of Emily Eric's win. I think there's a little bit of interaction around that as well. So the point gap has opened up. Anna put a little bit of a comment in there. We've been in this place before. We can make it happen. KK's even in chat. Libka's in chat. Everybody's here ready for what's going to go down. We almost have like our UFC meetup, the weigh-in. Okay, look at each other. Put the cameras on. What's happening next week, Anna?
Oh, well, we've got Riot in about 4 hours is heading out to do the WTRL TTT. We're out practicing. We're taking it serious. We've got a new rider who joined the team, Maddie, who has got awesome power, but Zwiftcraft, not so much. So we're trying to help her learn about drafting and all of that. So we're going to head out there today. Yeah, we're excited. I love myself a good underdog story. And I think we were in this in round 1. We were behind. And then that Eastern 8, still my favorite race I've ever done on Zwift. And I've been racing for like 4 years. So yeah, it makes me excited to race. It's awesome. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So you guys better bring it. I mean, you always do, right?
Yeah, I think we've won most of the team time, Charles. So yeah, we'll be bringing it. You know,
there it is. That's what I was looking for right there. I'm liking it. Nicola, we got to get off to our fashion show here before we make Anna late for everything in her life. So I really appreciate you coming on as always, and we'll have to have you on again sometime soon to see how this played out in the season, as well as how things go in Worlds. And we've got finals in March, too, for WTRL. So there's a lot more to be going on. So, Nicola, thanks so much for jumping on with us, though.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too as well. Well, Nicola Cramner, 2024, Virginia's Blue Ridge 2024, always a ton of fun. And you can see why. I mean, America's East, like, you don't see it behind the avatar, but you can, now that this is why we do this, is to, like, here's the reality. Like when we're bringing in the cameras now too, and like we're seeing Emily like all excited, giving the peace sign at the end there, and you know what I mean? Like you get, I mean, I have like replays up here actually of you suffering. Like I could bring them in as well, but there's a whole thing going on, a story that unfolds in your living room that all of you are connected to now.
So I think, Tepe's coming to chat. He's like, this is the best rivalry I've seen on Zwift. And I think it's because, like, you can see there, like, I have absolute respect for 2024. I think it's doing huge things in women's cycling, but do I want to beat them? Hell yeah. And I think it's just, it's kind of, it's like when you watch, so when I watched the Tour de France, I've mentioned this part so many times, but it's because it's stuck in my head and it made me love, like I finished watching that Tour de France stage. It was like, I love cycling. This is the best thing ever. Where you have Jumbo Visma, 1-2 punching, what's his name? UAE rider, the winner of the Tour de France. Pogacar, yeah. Where they're 1-2ing Pogacar. And I'm like, that made that race the most exciting thing I've seen. You go look at KK and Jackie Godby going 1-2 punching. I mean, you cannot watch that and not be excited. And then you have the Zoom call, and I'm on the Zoom call, like watching everyone before and like chatting. I'm like, this is so cool. Like I can see my competition. Like this is so much fun. And it's sitting here in my like pain cave. So I think it just brought that extra element of like intensity and fun to the equation. And you guys obviously on the broadcast side have done a great job. And you can see like, and what I hope is you got the other teams there like ATP, Optimum, and they're like looking, going, we want to be mentioned here. Well, we want to be part of this action. So they're just going nuts with their power. And yeah, I'm loving it. It's just been like a super fun round, this one.
Totally. And that's, there's a couple of sides of like creating that top level of sport. And part of it is that like, I want to get involved in whatever the hype is within the community, you know what I mean? And like, and how do you get there? Go show the numbers. Let's go, So yep. Absolutely love that. Be on the watch out. There's actually conversations in the background happening about how we make that happen more. So be on the watch out for that, everybody. And if you're out there in the community and you got a race team and you want to get involved in this kind of stuff, reach out, show us your stuff, share the stuff that we're doing up, because we want to hype everybody's efforts up 100%. And maybe you guys will have some other Optimum like startups coming after you pretty quickly here. But all right, fashion time. Here we go. It is what is this? Okay, what are we doing first here? This looks like Ride Prudential. What kind of response did you get this? If everybody didn't know, Anna puts a post out actually that ZCL does share out on socials now that asks you to rate her fashion pick. And she picked for this the course that we all dread to get the badge for. Absolutely dread to get, at least I do. I think we're doing this one actually pretty soon again for part of our base rides. The Prudential Ride London. What do you think of this? What's your rating on this one?
So my rating is about a 7. Probably I'd say the community agreed. They came in averaged out at 6.5. I'm not like a huge fan of the same color going through into the shorts. I prefer like a black short with the top, but I really do like this because it's kind of been digitized. I always like it when a kit has been kind of Zwiftified a little bit. And they've got that, like digital pixely looking stripes along the back of the jersey, the Prudential Ride London. So that's your PRL full or half that you can do the route badges for. I don't have this jersey. So I think it was like before my time on Zwift where there was probably an event series alongside the Ride London series.
Yep, that's exactly it. There was like a special event that they're partnered with that Ride London series actually. So that's exactly, I believe how, I don't even know if I have it. I thought I did that event, but I do recognize it.
Yeah, so I give it 7, community 6.5. So looks good. It's right up there. It's a top rated kit.
I gave it a 6. I think you got my rating. I gave it a 6.
Yeah, I did.
In the future, we may be doing some extra stuff with the broadcast, everybody, with these ratings. So be on the watch out for that as well. All right. This is the Bont shoes, the Bontrager shoes. And you are giving this a big nope. Bont Helix. And this is an unlock for how? How do we get these again? I think they're like level 48. 48.
Yeah.
It's 48 or 49 because I think Whitney Post actually was in my stream the other day and said, I got the Bont something, or maybe it wasn't. It was Whitney or someone else in there. And I was like, you mean the Bontrager shoes? And you're saying a big nope on these though.
Yeah, I'm not into them. Like the blue color's kind of weird. Like it's not a light blue. It's not really a royal blue. It's just this kind of in between. And then with the orange and yellow, like it's just really kind of bland but odd. It doesn't match anything either because I was kind of looking through to be like, oh, what could I match these with? Nothing, it turns out.
It's really hard to match those. Yeah, there is 1 or 2 kits I think it does kind of go with. Like I've picked them a couple of times. Like, and you got to like Tron it out too, I feel like, with some blue or something. But yeah, these are hard to match. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not digging them at all. I don't really like too many of the shoes in my garage. There's like a few, like I like the white Specialized and I like the black Adidas, and that's kind of almost it. The rest, I'm like,
just the plain ones, right? I agree.
Yeah,
actually, I'm with you. Like you just go with something that's super like the black or the white, and it's kind of like everything else just doesn't really. It's like too much or something. They just don't fit for some reason. I don't know. So, yeah, I'd give these. Or do you give them a rating, or you just say no? You're just like no.
Yeah, I don't really rate the garage stuff. I'm just more like picking stuff out to be like, what is this? Like, because gotcha. Everyone's garage is like chock full, right? So I'm doing like a preemptive garage sale for when Zwift does an upgrade at some point and you can go in and those will be sold. Probably one of the first, I think, that'll be sold. Maybe along with M. Nyquist's Alpine hat.
Oh, that's the best. That was a kick, dude. That was an amazing kit. Come on. I loved that kit. I would give that kit. All right, I'll give it an 8.5. It wasn't Vanilla Ice. It wasn't Vanilla Ice.
It's not the 10. I do want to give a shout out though, because I forgot last week and I'm wearing it now again. I got sent this t-shirt from Holly Brown Williams from Team Velos. You can kind of see, probably not the green screen, but they sent me a t-shirt. So nice. I just wanted to shout out them saying thanks. They're giving me a little bit of IRL fashion. So gotta love it. Thanks.
They're absolutely awesome. I like them a lot. All right. So what are we up to for the next week? Anna, shoot.
TTT practice today. Then I'm like, man, my form has like gone up and then ever since everything down. And so I think,
it's time to rebuild. Time to rebuild after a little bit of rest, right?
Yeah. So I've got this like 50K run, so I need to do some run work. That's probably me. And obviously getting out on Scotland a lot. I'll be running around Scotland, riding around Scotland, everything Scotland.
Yeah, we'll probably do checking out Scotland a bunch. We're still in the middle of a pretty big base block. We'll be getting ready to travel for Worlds. And we are ramping up into a pretty serious mountain bike season. So we're going to get our base work done. Obviously, the Guerra Gaines thing, if you've been keeping track of that, we've started a new club out on Zwift. You can join that. It's more about attraction rather than promotion, though. So join if you want to be a part of the stuff we're doing with training. We'd love to have you. We put out some workouts that we are doing to attract you as well to some coaching if you're interested in that. So that's part of what that's all about. But Guerra Gaines will be jumping back on that once there's a little bit of a bug going around the house. But after that, it's going to be right back into base training for another probably 2 weeks, staying away from racing. And then we'll start introducing some racing again, probably after Worlds. So that's what's going on over here in the Guerra household. This has been episode number 29 of The Wrap. You can catch all of these on replays because we've been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. But this is also a podcast. Forgot to mention that actually this time at the beginning of the podcast here, that you can download on audio. Just search The Wrap and Zwift anywhere that you do download your podcast, and you'll be able to pick that up real quick. We'll be back at you next week for episode, number 30 already. Absolutely awesome. From Anna and myself, thank you so much for listening in. Hit those follows, likes, and comments, and we'll see you next week. As always, right on.
Change.